Hello and welcome to the Daily Ramble here on Claret and Booze. My name's Gary and I'm going to take you through some transfer news. Lots of transfer news, lots of outgoings, one or two surprises, one especially, and some incomings. Many of these you would have heard already, but there are some new ones as well. And I just want to pick out the wheat from the chaff. And I want to go through and actually decide what players do we need? What players do we need to buy? What positions do we need to fill? So I want to have a look at that. But before I start, give the video a watch. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel Claret and Booze. Give it a like and hit the bell notification icon. Myself, Nick and John will be doing these videos throughout the summer to keep you up to date with the latest transfer news. Sorry we've been a bit lazy lately, but you know, we had a little rest after the end of the season. It was a really long season, let's not forget, right? Ended well though, didn't it? So, moving on, first thing, before we sign any new players, it's important that we do our major piece of business, and that is getting Declan Rice out of the door. Nobody wanted to see him go, but he's going. He is the medical with Arsenal is booked, which means the gloating will be in full. You know, it'll be peak gloat in a couple of days as Arsenal boast having taken our best player. But anyway, look, that's the past now. Deck is in the past. Got lots to look forward to in the future. Now, if you look at what's happening at the moment, we are strongly linked with Harvey Barnes as a left winger. He can also play on the right, by the way. I do believe, is he actually a right winger playing as an inverted winger on the left? But anyway, however you look at it, I'm a bit surprised by some people saying he's not worth the 40 million. I mean, if I don't think it'll be 40 million cash anyway. I think it'll be 40 million total price of the deal. But with Harvey Barnes, is a funny one because I saw him in the flesh at London Stadium and he was okay, but he didn't set the world alight. But I saw him in the flesh at Leicester at home when they had their towels up, and he was really, really good. He terrified, I think it was Soufal playing against him. He couldn't get near him. Reminded me a lot of Stuart Slater in the way he was getting up and down the line. He was relentless, honestly. So look, I am quite excited about him, and I know that's only based on one game, and I do get excited easily. That much is true. But I think also I'm really keen on wingers, and it's just something I've always been keen on. Going back to Devo and everybody else, you know, I love it. I love a player who can beat a player, and he can beat a player with ease. So him. The funny thing that seems to be coming out as a link to Bowen is, a link to Harvey Barnes is Jarrod Bowen, and the fact that Jarrod Bowen won't sign a new contract. He's been a big dissenter of David Moyes, as you'd expect, like we all have, most of us. But I suppose if you're a manager, this ain't me sticking up for Moyes, by the way. I'm just saying, as a manager, if you've got players or people in your team who are blatantly undermining you, it's not going to make your job easier, is it? And you might get a little bit resentful of it. So apparently this is, you know, signing Harvey Barnes as an additional benefit, and that is to say, look, you know, we could let you go for a fee if you won't sign this new contract or something like that. So yeah, it seems like it's the benefits are twofold. Sounds like a bit of a strange game to me, so I'm not sure I completely buy it. But anyway, that's what someone is saying. Someone quite reputable. So, moving on from there, there are a number of different links. Also, but let's cover the potential outs first of all. You know, obviously we've covered one already with Jarrod. I don't want to see that. Antonio's being linked to Galatasaray. I think Antonio would go anywhere if the money was right. I've got to be honest. He's been angling for a move for the last couple of windows, and he's clearly got itchy feet. He sees the end is in sight for his career, and he wants that final payday. And I don't mind if we give him the final payday, to be honest. It's fine with me. You know, goodbye, good luck. Thanks for all the goals. He's been a good servant. Thomas Souček wants out, but he is not likely to get out because he wants too much money. We can't find a buyer either. You know, he's a limited footballer, let's be honest. Lucas Paqueta has got a new agent. He apparently doesn't want out, but he wouldn't say no to a move to a big club. It's a bit too early for Lucas. We ain't letting him go, but we have kind of This is a bit. I've got mixed emotions on this. We've put a price on his head of 80 million. That to me is like, you know, when you're having a contract like Grealish with Man City, he had a 100 million release clause, and the second Man City offered £1,000,001, that was it. It was gone, right? Well, what we've said is, you offer us 80 million for Paqueta, our best player probably, and you can have him. Well, I think we shouldn't be putting prices on players, especially when they're at that early in their development. Don't forget, he's only had a couple of months where he's been playing well, really. And look how well he did at those couple of months. So the mind boggles how good he can get. I would say don't put a price on his head. Leave it till next summer, right? But going back to this approach to West Ham, and this ties the Paqueta thing in, that 80 million, in with Declan Rice and how we've managed that as a deal. I've actually been really pleasantly surprised by the way West Ham played hardball over Declan Rice, because that, to my knowledge, has never happened before. I don't know if you can remember it ever happening before, where we've got probably a little bit more than the value of the player. Maybe it's the right amount. I don't know. But anyway, I think we have maximised the asset. That's my point. Maximise the asset. And I don't think that we've ever done that before. I'm prepared to be wrong, but I don't think we have. And I like to see that, because I don't like to see, it's really insulting when we have our pants pulled down with the likes of Haller and, you know, we all knew Haller had ability, and yet we let him go for peanuts. And Anderson, we all knew he had ability as well, let him go for peanuts. Won't mention Vlasic. Payet, truly world class, let him go for peanuts. If a player's under contract, I know they can kind of force a move, but there are ways you can manage these things more professionally and be a hard ass. Do you think for 1 minute that Daniel Levy, love him or hate him at Tottenham, would somebody could ride roughshod over him like that? That somebody would take his Payet, for instance, for 20 million? He ain't got not a chance. Not a snowball's chance in hell that is happening. So I hope that the Declan Rice sale is an indication that we're doing negotiations more professionally now. And I think, and it pains me to say this, apparently it's Karen Brady that did the negotiation, but you remember she negotiated the deal for the stadium, which, even though not many people of my age anyway like the stadium, and we kind of resent the move, you've got to put that in a separate place to the commercial deal, and the commercial deal is outstanding. And she negotiated that. And apparently she negotiated the Declan Rice deal as well. So you got to say, if that's a skill set, why has she just started doing it? Why is this her first go? Is it her first go? I don't know. Was it her? Is it her first go? Was she just doing it because, you know, David Sullivan was bouncing up and down on a big yacht somewhere for a week? He was out of town. Because I don't know about you, but I am deeply suspicious that I suspect that if Arsenal had have offered West Ham Sullivan 70 million and then come back a few days later and said 75, it'd have bit their hands off. So thank you very much. And it'd been putting that money away. That's what I think. So I think this is a very big change. And apparently as well, Tim Steidtman, let's get his name right. He, where did the M come from, his name? We keep calling him Steidtman, right? He is, think of Crichton. Crichton. Remember? Right. He apparently had some input into that deal as well, in terms of saying, well, shouldn't we have a sell-on clause? Because if we sell this £100 million player to Arsenal and then he becomes a world superstar in a couple of years, and Arsenal, who knows where the market will be by then? Like, what's he going to be worth? 200 million? Who knows? What if he's the England captain? You remember Beckham? You know, what if he's the England captain, a world superstar? You know, he's perfectly at home in the Champions League, and now PSG or, you know, Man City, whoever else come knocking, and they want to pay a shitload of money. Well, we should have a share in that shitload of money, and I think we've got it. I haven't seen that confirmed, but I think we've got it. But either way, the deal has actually come out quite good. I mean, it's 100 million. I think it's 75 million in cash up front, with the rest paid over 2 years, the next 2 seasons, which is quite incredible, really. Anyway, look, enough about Karen Brady and how good she is, because she has a lot of flaws as well, let's face it. Other links, and I'm sorry, reading this off me screen. Brozier's interesting because we wanted Brozier, and he would be an ideal replacement for Antonio. He could probably play that role, but nobody knows if he's broken or not because he's had an ACL fixed. But a loan deal with Chelsea would probably be good. A loan with an obligation to buy for a set price if he completes a certain number of games and is clearly over his ACL problems. I think that would be a brilliant deal. I don't think Chelsea are going to get big money for him outside of that. Who's going to shell out a load of money for somebody who's not proven that they're over a big injury yet? I don't know. But I think moving on to another topic as well, right? So that is the striker position. The striker position is going to be massively impacted by Antonio going. That will force us into a slight change of style. Maybe Brozier coming in. Also Scamacca. Well, Scamacca wants to stay now, so he'll be possibly the number one striker next year. He's got to be, hasn't he? Well, that would also indicate a slightly different way of playing. And Ings, I think Ings was a mistake. He doesn't suit this system. He doesn't have enough pace for this system. But he's getting paid a load of money. So can we get rid of him? And then you've got Mabama, a fantastic. I'll tell you what, I watched the West Ham Network earlier. There was Anton talking about Mabama and going through his record as a player. And I don't usually take much of an interest in that, but it caught my attention. I had it on in the background. And his record is absolutely outstanding. I mean, from a young kid. He also lives his life really well. He's the consummate professional. And last season he got 30 goals in 40 games at all levels of football, which is incredible, right? This guy has just bashed in the goals from an early age, no matter what level he's put in, no matter if they bashed him up an age group or something like that. He's just continued bashing in the goals. Now, it's going to take him a while, like it takes all players, to adapt to the Premier League. But surely that is a player we've got to focus on and bring through. So I don't want to see a load of strikers come in pushing him down the pecking order. That's what I'm saying. But I do want to see a change in the old guard. I want to see Antonio gone. I want to see Ings gone, right? Because those people shouldn't be holding back the good players, the future of the club. Let Scamacca have his run. If Brozier comes in, let him be a backup. And then the third choice, maybe Mabama. Yeah? I think that would do it for me. I think that'd be brilliant. And while you're at it, why not use young Freddie Potts, who even runs like Declan Rice, as a backup central defensive midfielder? He doesn't have to be a starter, but who knows? These players, he looked very mature on the ball, very confident on the ball when he came on. And what about young Ollie Scholes I think he's a left back, isn't he? And he can also play midfield. Those, why don't we? Surely those a handful of the youth team that won the FA Cup and the league, don't forget, they cleaned up, these boys. Surely you're going to cherry pick the best ones and plot a route through to the first team, aren't you? Not necessarily as first team regulars, but they're never going to be first team players. You'll never know if they can play in the Premier League unless you let them play in the Premier League or let them play in the first team, in cup competitions, in Europe, etc., and get them used to the team around them and getting used to the pace of that level of football and the tough tackling and the physicality of it. It's going to take a while to get used to it, but we've got to. What we don't want is for other teams to come in and benefit from our hard work in developing these players over many years. We want to benefit from them, right? That's what we want. So look, I think that is a couple of backup players right there. And you'll probably be able to tell me some others to let me know in the chat who could do that. But if you look at the rest of the team, I think we need. We're looking at a left back and a right back. I think it's been mooted. That guy. Let me just put my glasses on because I've got my notes here. Max Aarons as a right back replacement for Soufal. Kerkez, do you remember him from the AZ Alkmaar game? Lightning, 19-year-old, I think Hungarian left back. We're interested in him. He would be good. Another centre back. We need a backup centre back. We've got Zuma, injury prone. We've got Ogbonna, injury prone. We've got Agüed, who once he got over his injury wasn't so injury prone. We've got Kehrer, who is primarily a centre back, but that's 4 with 2 injury prone. So you're down to your last 2 and relying on them not picking up a knock, and that is a position where you're likely to pick up a knock, isn't it? So I would say we need somebody. We need somebody as a backup centre back. We also obviously need a Rice replacement, a central defensive midfielder. I like Onana, but apparently he was out of the Everton team at the end of the year, which is surprising to me. Maybe we'll get him for a reasonable price then. Alvarez of Ajax, another one who could potentially do that Rice role. Who knows what's going to happen to Paqueta this season? Is he going to stay as a kind of deep line number 8, or is he going to become the number 10 that David Moyes always thought he was? Because if you remember, David Moyes had to go and watch him in the World Cup before he stumbled across his favoured position. But what I'm thinking is, Paqueta is such an intelligent player, such a great player, so talented that maybe dropping him deep could have been what he needed to get used to the pace of the Premier League. And now he's used to the pace of the Premier League, he could perhaps be moved forward into that number 10 role. I mean, I wonder if he's got pace and options around him, like Harvey Barnes on the left, Bowen on the right. You know, it could be something good, and also a striker to aim at. A striker who's mobile and is looking for the ball, like Scamacca, who he links up with quite well. So yeah, let's have a look what else we've got on my little list. So yeah, left back, right back, another centre back, a CDM, a new Souček, assuming Souček's going to go, left winger in Harvey Barnes, a striker. So that is, I think, the shopping list. That is a massive rebuild for the second season running. And that is why we cannot stretch this out, right? We've got to get our business done. Now, we've got the 100 million from Rice. We're going to have some other money coming in as well. You know, there's rumours that, Fornals is wanted by Juve. Juve probably won't want to pay any money for him, but he's got to be worth 20 million of anyone's money, right? Almost definitely. If you look at, we've already spoken about Antonio, he's probably worth 10 million, you'd probably say, wouldn't you? Roma are interested in Scamacca, but frankly, they're going to want to loan him or get him for peanuts, and he hasn't depreciated as a player. All he's done is play quite well, then get injured for the rest of the season. So it ain't like he's failed, and apparently he wants to succeed. And I like the idea of an enthusiastic, wants to succeed Scamacca starting the season without Michail Antonio sneering on from the bench, right? So apparently a very popular player in the squad as well, Scamacca, which is a really good thing to hear. So there will be some money coming in. Sorry, I'm flipping around between topics here. There will be quite a decent amount of money coming in. Probably in total, including sales, would probably be 140, 150 million to spend. We've got the new sporting director. We've now got Karen Brady on negotiations. We've got apparently a 4-way panel of people who have to give the sign-off for any signing. So that is Sullivan, believe it or not, Noble, Dighton, and David Moyes finally. David Moyes gets the final say. He gets to put the kibosh on any little ambitions that Tim Dighton has. So that's probably going to slow us down, but I'm just hoping that it doesn't, because you know what happens when we leave things too late. When we leave our business too late, it all goes wrong. We don't start the season well. It takes ages for people to get bedded in. To get bedded in properly, they need a pre-season. They need to get to know the players around them, right? And without that, they're always going to be starting, 2 steps back. So why can't we, for once, don't wait and see what's in the bargain bucket in the last week of the window? I know Sullivan likes it and Moyes likes it as well, but let's identify the players we want, go out and negotiate the right price for those players. Don't try and get them for peanuts. Don't take the piss, right? Maybe get Brady on it, set a budget. This is how much we should be paying. Mix into that a couple of bargains that nobody knows about from Dighton, a couple of experienced players that everyone knows about from Moyes. And then bring those players in, get the business done in a couple of weeks. Do not rely on some of those players being available in the last week of the window and picking them up for peanuts, because that is amateurish bullshit. right? And it never works. So get the business done. Let's have a full pre-season. The first game of which is only a week away, by the way. Ridiculous, isn't it? Let's have a full pre-season for the team. Get them all bedded in. And let's hit the ground running for this new season for once. And I think like Nick said the other night, let's inject some pace into this team, because none of us are looking forward to watching a David Moyes team. Well, some are. But most of us are not looking forward to a David Moyes team. But I tell you what makes a David Moyes playing style and a David Moyes team watchable. It's pace. If we can put some pace into the team and some goal scoring threat, you know, so that we can actually become a proper, effective, higher tempo, pacey counter-attacking team, rather than a lethargic, defensive, slow, miserable, you know, you're not even bloody watching it, it's so boring, dull, annoying, irritating, waste of space type of football. Let's do it properly. Let's do it properly. If you want to play like that properly. Be a proper counter-attacking team. Anyway, I am now rambling. Thank you for your attention. Much appreciated. Good to be back. We will be doing lots of these shows over the summer. Myself, John and Nick. As soon as we've got something to talk about, we will talk about it. And if we've got nothing to talk about, we'll talk about that. Until next time, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, Claret and Booze on YouTube. Give us a like and hit the bell notification icon. Until next time, see you soon. Come on, you Irons.